The first time I met David was in the fourth grade. I had been put in the front row, uh, primarily so the teacher could keep an eye on me. David, on the other hand, was in the front row because of his muscular dystrophy. He was in a wheelchair, so he was in the front so that he could be accessible to the door. So anyway, we ended up sitting next to each other and sharing a book, and that was the first time I ever met him. And David was just a quiet, easygoing guy. The teacher loved him. I didn't mind that he was the teacher's pet. Maybe at that point I could actually figure out a way to use that to my advantage. Over the last 40 years, I kept going back to the places that David and I, where we had our adventures, our friendship, all the fun places and the fun things we did together, the open fields, the hills, the river, the school. There was something that constantly kept pushing me back in that direction. Every single time I would go back, I would remember something different, something unique, and maybe something that gave me comfort and to some degree strength, something that I was missing that I left behind. The memories of David and I have been haunting me. I need to know why. Why would something like this stay with me for 45 years? At that point, that's when I found myself hiking higher and higher and further in the mountains, longer periods of time. At one point I was up on a mountain and I was waiting for a storm to come in, and I was frustrated at a point in my life, wondering what it was I was supposed to do with this story about my friend. I could see off in the distance the thunder and the lightning coming, and I welcomed it. At that point, as I stood there, I felt that something was speaking to me and that I was enlightened as to my purpose. I was enlightened as to my calling. The story of David and our friendship should be a movie. First thing I needed was to get it in writing, put it on something solid, something that I could hand off. So I set up an appointment. I wrote out the initial story and was bound and determined. I took my checkbook and off I went. If there was anything I could do, I could certainly pay someone and get the ball rolling. In deciding to put this on a CD, I made a call to the local production company, ending up sitting next to him working with Don Carone, who ultimately became my co-writer and co-director on this story for the last 8.5 years. Well, I took my 5-page little script that I had. Don put me into a room, handed me some headsets.
Whenever you're ready.
Hi, this is Lyle Hatcher, and this is my true story from grade school. It's called Different Drummers. I am yanking on my shirt, trying to get air, and wiping the sweat off of my clammy hands. Miss O'Donnell, the principal, can't stop her lip from trembling and refuses to move her hands from the folded prayer position. Her mouth is dry as she shakily sips from. Must have been a seed there, because it wasn't too long that at the end of this process of putting Different Drummers on a DVD, Don looked at me and said, "What do you intend to do with this?" And I smiled. I said, "Well, I think it should be a movie." And he held up his hand and he pointed a finger up in the air. He said, "Now this is the most important question." He said, "Is this a true story?" And I said, "It is." He told me right then and there, he said, "This is the one. This is the one I've been waiting for." Well, when someone like that talks to you and tells you that, that's a strong message. It was the next day that Don showed up at my office and had a contract in his hand. And eventually it came down to not a signed contract. I believed him to be a man of his word, which is rare in these times. I reached across my desk and I shook his hand, and that was our friendship and our partnership all in one moment, right there. I don't think either one of us knew that we were about ready to sacrifice all those years, and of course every penny we had, including our retirement accounts, in order to move something that the only thing we knew is our hearts and minds said this is something we had to do.